but now we have me. I'll make you host, so you're able to do that.
Sure, sure. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alfred Nanabino too. I'm a digital architect with Vodafone. So I sit with a team that has a very long title, but the short version of it is that we are basically a collection of architects, both for infrastructure and then digital and network. Sorry, networks is not part, so infrastructure and digital. Now, as my role as a digital architect, our main concern is to design the digital experiences of our customers to make it user friendly, bring value to them, and as well as give value to the organization as a whole. So our customers can be both internal and external customers. Our external customers are usually our subscribers, and our internal customers are usually other business units. So, for instance, what we call the consumer business will come to us with a proposal for to enable um, customers register for the mobile money wallet online. It also has to do with Toby, how Toby usage is going on, or how we can build the data set for Toby, so yes, so that's basically what I do on a daily basis. Now, as an individual, I enjoy coding as well. I actually enjoy building stuff. So I like to code. I like to play with electronics as well. A bit of I have a lot of Arduino sets that I try to work with sometimes. Yes, so basically that's me. Um, so today I would like to talk about us or as a team incorporating the culture of design in in our work, right? So one process of well, from years of mentoring developers, engineers, that's what I realized is that once they get the brief, then they go straight into coding, right? The sorry, someone. So the
So then, we will lose you sometimes.
oh,
Um,
okay,
position.
sorry.
Lenovo machine. Lenovo, can you also mute your microphone? Lenovo machine.
Okay, so
Thank
okay, so okay, I'll go back a few seconds. I was saying that as part of as developers, what I've realized is, and I also used to do this. can. So, can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can. Can you
Oh,
make Laboni host now?
I should make Laboni host now.
Yeah.
Okay,
So in the participants, please search Laboni and make
okay.
him.
Participant session Laboni. Okay, there we go. Laboni. Oh, I rather clicked on make more allow make host. Okay, change host. So I've made Laboni host now. Is that fine?
Much.
Okay. So for a presentation layer, tool like Adobe XD. So with this, I can actually click on play and then mimic how the app would behave on the phone, right? Have slides and show how you're going to use it, right? So this is a typical example of preparing for a presentation layer. So what a customer will see. The advantage of doing this is also helps you to spec the needed APIs that you are going to build, that you are going to use, and then I may have to share again. Okay.
Then I will make you host again, please.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
you do that. Please also mute if you're not speaking. That's not you, Nana, our audience. So one moment you'll be made host and then you would share.
Okay. Um,
Nana, you're host now.
okay. So, okay. Thank you. And then let me see. Just a minute. So, so can you see? There's another application that I tend to use, an open source application. It's called um, Star UML. So you can use it to build your UML for the business logic, right? The business logic, I tend to use a lot of sequence diagrams with each other, and then the various states in which they would be in. So just I don't think I have a sample here. So okay, sorry. How or you or can feel because of network latency, because of network outages, read when you get a responses passing, then it can fail. So you can put in monitoring and alarm systems like nudges to monitor your to monitor the service that consumes or that uses IBM what to always check it, it's alive, the connection is there, right? And then also when the response comes back, you can also have ways of passing the responses in clearly monitor that activity. So you can use sequencing, which I think gives you a clearer picture as compared to flowcharts. Flowcharts can be lengthy sometimes. So when you go in deeper, you can read a little bit more about it. You can realize that you can sequence from the smallest unit of work in the application, and then you can put all of them together and get a bigger picture. Okay. I hope I'm not rushing through it. Everybody's fine.
Yes, please. I'll also look in the chat and see if there's any question.
Okay. So, yes. So the last bit will be the data access layer, right? In terms of breaking down your design components, right? So for data access layer, we are referring to your data storage, right? How you are going to store your data, and then how you are going to process it, or how you are going to organize it. So if you are going to use NoSQL, Mongo, Redis, the class diagrams that you are going to translate into persistence, you have to properly illustrate or properly draw them out. And then if you are going to use a traditional relational databases, and you are going to use ORMs, right? How your entity structures are going to look like, you have to also draw them out. Now, let me try.
Nana, do you need anything from my end?
No, not from your end. I'm just trying to retrieve a ERD as an example, as a demo, so that the participant can follow what I'm trying to just listen. Okay, so yes, so I have one. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so this is an example of an alias on the project I was working on. So for instance, it's for a restaurant and a menu ordering system. So I come in here after I spoke to, you get the brief or the requirements. Sometimes you may have to interview the potential users or whoever is giving you the problem to build. And then interviewing them, I actually asked them that if I could see a menu that they have. And I realized that they had sub-menus, they have categorizations that they use. So you organize all of them. And this time around, they wanted to associate, images and videos to their menu, so that within the app, the user, when you click on the food, you can see the pictures, you can see any videos they have. You can see any videos they have of the menu and stuff. So you draw them out, and actually you establish the relationships between them. So you can see that for a menu, you have the code, label, description, then you put the data type that you want to store it in, and then you can now, when you have the menu, you can normalize the table, break it apart, give your menu a different table, then you bring it back as a form of a one-to-many relationship. So at this point in time, when you're designing, you will be at a high level of an understanding of a bird's eye view of what you want to achieve, not necessarily doing the hard coding. But what it will give you is that when you use some of these tools, you can, Eclipse for instance, as a plugin that can convert these entity relationship diagrams, right, straight into classes for you. So you don't have to actually recode them. But if it doesn't have it, what this does for you as a developer is that it serves as a point of reference, and you can actually create your classes. All of these will be members of those classes, and then you won't forget any, and then come back later on and say, oh no, I forgot this. Then you have to do a migration script to create a new column in the table and stuff like that. So it takes away those kind of ad hoc patches, right? So you can do this, and because it's not any special data store. What would be the word? Data store language, right? It can extend to anything. So you can apply it to MySQL, you can apply it to Mongo, you can apply it to Redis, can you convert them into, and they will still work because it's essentially a class diagram, right? Okay. So yes. So now that I'm done, I would look at. I'm going back. Sorry, is that a question?
Okay, I don't see a question, but Adelaide and Simon, Peter, can you please mute if you're not asking a question? Would I like to ask questions a little bit? Kindly mute for now.
Okay. So, yes. So, at the presentation layer, I left out one thing. I showed you the UML and then UX wireframes. That's when you saw me use the Adobe Exit in the wireframes, right? Now, it's not every time that you do a mobile app or a desktop app that you have to design the wireframe. Sometimes you are building APIs for other third parties to consume, right? At the design stage, you can use either a Swagger, which is an open API, free documentation supported framework, or you can use RAML as well. But personally, I tend to use a lot of Swagger, right? So bear with me whilst I retrieve an example for us to walk through. So, can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can, Nana.
Okay, so this is actually one of the recent work I did with another developer. I was helping him to spec out the APIs. The advantage of this is that when you're working as a team and one team is building the front end or a mobile app or a desktop app, and then your team is building the back end, you can actually design your API specification here, hand this JSON file to them, and then they can code against it, because you guys would have come to an understanding or an agreement on the common protocols to exchange data between your systems, right? And that's it. So it has these tags here. You can define your endpoint, you can define your HTTP method, you can add tags here. Tags are more of the documentation bits here, and then you can now go ahead and spec it. So the parameters, if it's a JSON body, so there's a post, I think, so this is it. There's a post, and then you can go ahead and then in the definition, that's way down here, right? For a request, for instance, you can spec so to create a push notification, you said what they should pass the JSON body, they should pass the title, the message, the topic, the request ID, everything here. You can spec them out here. Now, the fact that you spec them out and then the mobile app or the UI team implements it doesn't mean that you've actually built it. You could be writing your test cases in preparation for this, but you've given them assurance that once your application is deployed, they would have access to this. Whenever they pass this exact payload, your application would, the backend application will understand it and then return them a response. You can actually define your response structure here. If it's a 200, this structure should be what will be returned to them. If it's a 404 unauthorized, it's 4, you can spec all of them out here. So this takes away the pain of saying that, oh, I'm waiting for the backend people to give me an API for this. Okay, so it's not ready. Is this ready? How is it going to look like? This kills all of them. Even when they implement it and it doesn't work initially, you would work towards that goal and bring it out to life. So that this cuts down some of the development headaches as well. Now, in terms of everyday practice of this design concept, what is that happen is that even when there's a problem, sorry, is that a question?
No, please. Please, Samuel Mensah, can you mute and ask for Samuel? Please mute. Yeah.
Okay, so for instance, if there's a problem, if the development is going on and then there's a problem, a developer does not have an understanding of something or there's a blocking issue, what this does is that using these elements, you get a reference document that you can speak to. So, for instance, if you have the front end saying, API is not returning this, it's not returning, I'm passing this, it's not working, then you go like, you pass it exactly what you see from the documentation, say, okay, yes. Then you log the incoming request you receive, you compare it to what you agreed on. If it doesn't match, or that's why the exception is being thrown, the person can go back and refer, right? So it helps you get clarity in terms of solving bottleneck issues and how to approach them as well. So in essence, that's my brief take on the design concept, turning your designs into actual, tangible working tools and then applying them as you go along. So this also allows you to version. So for instance, if this API to create, you can have another version here, right? In the base classes here, you can define another version for it. So I can take this slightly here. So you can have another version you can build on. You can say the method should be a post. Okay. So you can build another version here, and then they can have access to that as well. So yeah. Now, when you are using Swagger, for instance, and then you already have a build, you can incorporate the libraries for that into your code so that your code will come, your microservice or your code will come with predefined definitions, right, associated with the project. Swagger has an endpoint that you can add. If you use a Java-based application, you can add it from the Maven repository or Gradle, you can add it to your import. And then anytime you use that annotation base, it would take those annotations and build the documentation for you so that you don't have to actually be consistently building it and have a separate documentation process for your backends. So I think that's it for me. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take it. Now, also, I realized that I think most of you are young, but as we grow older and then in this field, you tend to be more engaged into the engineering process of things, not actually day-to-day coding. So it's also a very good and lucrative field to look at, especially when you like to design and impact the actual product at that level, and you are not somebody who wants to do the day-to-day grinding of the actual coding and troubleshooting. You can also take this on and actually enjoy it. Yeah. So,
thank you so much.
Questions. You're welcome.
Right. So, Rocky, you are unmuted. I don't know if you have a question, and all the others who joined, do you have a question? This was really important for people who are building on this competition. You know, you moved us to the different layers. You told us how important the presentation was and whatnot. So if you have a question, kindly indicate and I'll allow you the floor to speak. Nana is here to take the questions. Then you tell us a bit about his judging criteria. Nana, would you tell us after the questions, right, what you're looking for by way of fiction and also what you're going to submit? So you have already signed up for it. So if you have a question, indicate so that I allow you to ask Nana, and then we go on to take his the criteria. Nana, thank you for sharing the Swagger link. My friend said it looks. I barely use it most times in words. Just yeah. But it's good. But
it really cuts down the headache of communicating your APIs that you design
friends mentioned aside Swagger is Cassandra. I don't know whether they are related in any way. So there's
okay.
Cassandra,
Okay.
and then they keep mentioning Swagger, they keep mentioning Cassandra.
Cassandra, okay.
I see. Okay, so guys, any question for Nana, and then we go in to know about what he's expecting.
Now I'm getting scared why there are no questions. I feel like I was too abstract.
Okay, for me, I think this was with the pictures in the below 1.0, so maybe it was comprehensive entirely. I also have had many questions coming, but it's good. And you can go on to share, Nana, about the criteria you're looking at for the judge.
So as you can see, I am from what I've discussed so far with you, to blow me away, I would expect a good design from you guys, right? A design as in before you present your actual code and how you've implemented it, a good referencing documentation for your project. So it could be, you could even draw your wireframes on a piece of paper, take pictures of it, add it to your presentations. You could show me how you're going to organize your data storage at the back end. I would appreciate that a lot. A couple of sequence diagrams to show me how your code would take user input through the whole use flow, user the objects in the frame, objects in the systems, and then return a response back to the user. That if you can express it as a UML flow, I'll be so glad. You would get a lot of points from me. The next bit is, which I know a lot of Ghanaians don't like, is test cases. I would, anybody who would design the test case for me to see, will run it, and then would test his or her development within code, would really appreciate it. If you want to test the front end, you could show me, like, you can use Selenium or Mockito if you're doing, this is Java based to test the APIs. You could show me that, I would really appreciate it. You can show me a unit test if you're using PHP unit, if you're using JUnit. You show me all those things, I would appreciate it. That shows that you've really thought about your program, and then every software has to be testable in a way. That's one of the only ways to ensure that you've delivered a good project. The other bit is that imagine you have written part of the software that is running Perseverance, Mars rover, and the thing is in Mars. If there's a problem, how are you going to? You can go there and deploy new code. So as long as it's testable, you can test it with the 3 high-level criteria: the worst case, the best case, the abnormal case. And you can handle all those exceptions and how the behaviors would be. Or you can anticipate with a certain degree of confidence that the software can be fault tolerant. That means that it can withstand fault tolerance at like 90%, 80%. That's good. It can recover itself. It can scale on its own. That's perfect. Yeah, so those are some of the things I'll be looking out for. I would also be looking out for clean code. Some of the clean code principles, I'll be looking out for them as well. We have this habit of developers building new stuff. So once someone has done it and there's a bug, you go in there and you have to go like, no, I have to write it all over again. You have to, if you and your team members practice clean code, it becomes easier to manage your code. It becomes comfortable to look for bugs and fix them. And then it becomes easy to manage, Yeah, so those are some of the things I also look out for. Yes. Yeah, and basically some of the also the big old notation problems work, and you have to make
Hello, Nana. We lost you at the big O notation problem. Can you hear me, please?
Hello?
Yes, Nana. We lost
Yes.
the big O notation problem. If you're able to read that slide.
Okay. Okay, I was saying that I would actually look out for some of how you guys would approach some of these principles, like the big old problems, where you can have n number of arrays and you just be iterating through it. That could be a problem, and I'll be looking out for ingenious ways to solve those things, right? So, for instance, if looking through a big array to find something would be a problem, you convert it into a map. You put keys into the key value session, then you rather look up the keys, which will be on O of 1. So those things, when you apply them, then I get to see that, oh, this guy has really thought about his code. It'll score you a good point.
Interesting. I hope everyone has take points. Nana has talked about having your sequence diagrams, UML, test cases. He said those are things that will sweep him off his feet. He's now mentioned the big annotation problems also. So for people who are listening, you should try to incorporate. So even if you can draw how your data store is going to be at the back, how your wires are going to be connected on the paper, and add to your demo, beautiful, just so he's able to conceptualize beyond your demo. So if you are here, your team members are here, convey the message. I mean, let them know what you're aiming towards and what the judges are looking out for.
And then last bit is test cases. Test cases, sorry.
Right. Okay, so Nana is also emphasizing now on test cases. Don't miss that. Make sure you have it covered somewhere in your pitch deck or your presentation. Really helpful for you and your team. Thank you so much, Nana. Yes. Anyone else has a question for Nana? Nana Kofi, you're already unmuted. I don't know if you have a question or this is by mistake, but if you do, kindly ask the question. Okay, Nana.
I just joined late. I'm so sorry. What's the test case?
So.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So a test case is is basically a way to test an application and see. Sorry, my power just went out. Forgive me. So the power just went out. Yes. So a test case is a way to test your application, right? So, for instance, you can write a unit test. A unit test, if you have a function to add a plus b, right, to give you c, and then your application takes an two input variables, being a and b, and then to add the two to give you a c. You can write a test case and put in dummy data for a and b, and then tell the test case that it should assert that the answer that will come out with variable cb should be 2. So the test case will take a equals to 1, b equals to 1, and then c should be asserted that it should be 2. So when you run it, right, and you pass those two arguments to your function, and your function does not return 2 and returns 3, which is an abnormality, your application will flag that your test failed, so that you can go ahead and look at what made your test fail, and then you can try and fix it. Do you get it?
Yes, I get it. Thank you.
For some of the test-driven development, people, they actually write the test cases first before you start the implementation. So you go like, okay, the test definition will be that whenever somebody puts in a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 2, it should give you b is equal to 1, it should give you the final answer c, right? So that you can have them. I have a couple that I can display so that you can conceptualize. Can I still share my screen?
Yes, Nana, you are still host.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so if you can see my screen, this is one of the test cases that I wrote, right, for a Spring-based application I've been working on. It's I tend to build a lot of backends, so this is an API-driven, and then in Java there's a Mockito test case. So what I'm trying to say is that for this path, V1 customer account, when it passes JSON body, it should go through it, and then it should assert that the HTTP status will be equal to 200. That means that the code has to run that's giving you 200. Over the years, practicing this was also giving me a unique advantage. So with this, when I run it on its own, So just click here. Sorry, I'm an old man, so I tend to use Eclipse. Oh, you intelligent people, forgive me. So when you run it in your application, you have a lot of logs in there. You can actually follow the logs as well. That tells you your behavior of the endpoint that would process this. You can actually run it in the debug mode and put breakpoints in various places in your code, right? It can show you, you can actually walk through the code and see how it's behaving, right? So it's very important to have test cases, no matter, and almost every language supports it. Python has Python unit, PHP has PHP unit, I think Node.js has Java has a unit. Yes, even React does, and Android development does. So you can see that it's really a core function of our jobs and our deliveries. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you so much, Nana. Any other question? Any other question from anyone in the chat? Okay, somebody's hailing you at Java. So you see some Java lovers around here.
Okay.
So who else has a question? I'm not just explaining the test cases, they should have an example. Who else has a question for Nana before we round up the session? And we are going to take a remote interview with High Five. So High Five, please be on standby. The media team will take the remote interview. Then we record a bit and we would assemble again by 8:30 for a short information before you submit your pitch decks. But just know that you're coding now till the time. We wouldn't want to bother you so much. So just to round up the session, and if you have a question, kindly ask. We'll take High Five and then you go back to work. We'll assemble again at 8:30 for a brief session and then we'll continue. So, any other question in the chat with the question? None yet. Nana, this was really comprehensive and I appreciate the time. Thank you for making it with us. I hope your lights come on because
yeah, I hope so too.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you. Have a nice day, everybody.
Yes, have a good one.
Bye.
High Five, are you on standby? High Five.
Yes, please.
Oh, you are. Are you together as a team or you are all joining remotely? I mean, from different places?
We are together as a team.
Okay, so now Norris will come and take over the media session he did with the other guys in the morning, and we call the session done. So thank you so much. I'll just let Norris come in, and then we continue. Norris, here you go.
Hello, is High Five ready?
Hello. Yes, please.
Can you turn on your video?
So my video is there.
Yes. Hello, what's your name?
Hello. Oh, my name is Conrad.
Your name is?
Conrad.
Hey,
Konlan.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm not a small boy.
Oh,
Which school are you from?
yes.
KNS. Oh, you've done well. I know you're writing exam.
Yeah.
So your team name is High Five, right?
Yes, please.
What are you working on?
Yeah, we are working on home automation.
Home automation.
Yes, please. Being able to use Google Assistant to turn on off your light remotely and other electrical appliances. Like maybe those who have electric needs here can use Google Assistant, then it opens the gate and closes it.
Oh. That's interesting. How far are you? Are you close to finishing?
Yeah, we're close to finishing.
We'll be wrapping up very soon, so make sure that you iron out all your issues. That's an interesting project. How is this? Have you been to Hacklab before?
Yeah, we've been to Hacklab before.
Oh, okay, so it's not your first time.
Yeah.
How is this virtual one going?
Hey, it's tough.
It's tough. Why? All your team members are not at the same place?
Sometimes you see you see if we are all at the same place, nobody is leaving. That is why, okay, let me go and get this encounter.
Yeah. Because no one is the same place.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, let me go and get food and come in. It's more than the time.
It's just the time that we are in. That's interesting. So we are glad that you were able to join us from Kenya. We appreciate the sacrifice. So we wish you all the best, and then we hope to see you in the final. This year we have to beat at least go to the awards. So we are counting on you guys. Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
And all the best to you and your team.
I have some questions. Some big questions. Can we hate less and share more love?
Hello everyone, thank you for staying with us. Please go back to wait. We'll be back again at 8:30 with a brief session. Then we enter into the pitch submission and everything. So please, you can go off the call now. Would be here and waiting for you at 8:30. Thank you and all the best to all of you.
Happy birthday!
Thank you so much, guys. I miss you.
Oh, how is celebrating your birthday?
Nothing much. Having a home spa day, treating myself as usual.
Hey, nobody has come. I know, right? So I guess bye.
Okay, love you. Bye. This is the best birthday ever. Me, myself, and my doorman.
Yeah.
I have some questions. Some big questions. Can we hate less and share more love? Can we cure every disease? Can we make sure nobody's left behind? Can we go faster than 9.58? Can we change our ways before it's too late? Can we all stay safer? Can we go even further than we've gone already? Technology and humanity, together we can.